Hey, legal gangstas, welcome back to Legal Gangsta Network. We're diving deep, into no-knock warrants today, right here in Texas.
Yeah.
You've probably heard about them. There are these situations where police can come in, like barge into a place without even, saying, "Hey, police." Often using force too. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely controversial. I mean, think about it. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures, but then you got these no-knock warrants. That just sounds kind of like a recipe for conflict, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So before we get too far, let's just
Right.
make sure everybody's on the same page here. What actually is a no-knock warrant in Texas, like legally speaking?
Okay, so basically it's this document gives law enforcement the power to go into a property without knocking and announcing themselves, waiting for the folks inside to open up. And yeah, they can use force to get in. I mean,
Mm.
imagine you're just chilling at home and bam, police are busting through your door.
Yeah, that does not sound like a fun time.
Uh,
So I'm guessing they don't use these things for just any old traffic violation, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. No, no. These are reserved for, I'd say, very specific cases. Like when announcing the police are there could put people's lives at risk or mess up a chance to get important evidence. We're talking high-stakes situations here.
Right. So from what I've read, there are two main reasons they'd even consider using one of these warrants. One is for like the safety of the officers and the public, kind of like if there's a hostage situation going on, right?
Uh-huh, exactly. Think about a situation where you've got like an armed and dangerous person holed up somewhere. Announcing yourself could make things way worse, put everybody at risk.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And then the other big reason is to protect evidence, especially in cases with drugs or something.
Right on. Like you said, in some drug cases, if they think the police are coming, those suspects might try to like flush the drugs down the toilet or something like that the second they hear a knock. But with a no-knock warrant, the cops can just secure the whole place really fast. And boom, evidence is safe.
Okay, so it sounds like there are very specific reasons they'd use them. So does that mean no-knock warrants are kind of rare in Texas?
Yeah, they're definitely the exception, not the rule. Here in Texas, we usually go by the knock and announce rule. Means the police gotta knock, say who they are, and wait a bit before going in. No-knock warrants are only for certain situations, when those factors we talked about are a real concern.
Okay, so let's say the police think a no-knock warrant is absolutely necessary. What's the next step? Do they just bust in all guns blazing?
Oh, no, it's not like that. There's a whole process they got to go through. It starts with this thing called a magistrate, kind of like a judge. The police got to bring them this super detailed statement swearing that a no-knock warrant is the right call for this case.
So they can't just be like, "Hey, we think this guy is dangerous. Let us barge in."
Nope. The magistrate really looks at everything. They got to be convinced. They'll look for specific things in the police statement, like two big things. One, they got to see strong proof that there's a serious danger if the police announce themselves, like danger to the officers, to anyone inside, or even to people nearby.
So if they got a tip that the suspect is armed and dangerous. Right.
Yeah, like that. Or if they know that the suspect has a history of violence or has made threats, that kind of stuff. The second thing they look at is if there's a chance that evidence could be destroyed. Like they got to see proof that the people inside are likely to ditch the evidence if they have a heads up.
So if they think someone's cooking meth and they're worried they'll flush everything down the drain.
Yeah, exactly. That
Mhm.
could be a reason for a no-knock warrant. But they still need really good proof to back that up. It's not easy to get one of these approved here in Texas.
All right, so let's say the magistrate does approve the warrant. Then what?
Well, then comes the actual execution of the warrant. This is when things get pretty intense. First, there's a ton of planning. The officers need to know everything they can about the place, like the layout of the house, possible escape routes, how many people are inside, if there are any weapons, you name it. They got to be ready for anything.
Sounds like something out of a movie.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel that way. They often bring in SWAT teams or other special units who are trained for this kind of stuff. Coordination is super important.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So once they're actually inside, what happens?
Okay, so even though it's a no-knock situation, they still have to identify themselves right away. Once they're in, they got to make it super clear that they're the police. It's to prevent confusion, people freaking out and potential violence. Imagine being woken up in the middle of the night by people breaking down your door.
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
Exactly. It's crucial.
Okay, so they come in guns blazing and announce themselves. And then what? How do we know they're not going to abuse their power in those situations?
That's where things have been changing recently. Lots of places in Texas are now making officers wear body cameras when they do these no-knock warrants. So there's a video record of the whole thing. It's really important to see if they did everything by the book and if anyone's rights were violated.
Right, so the cameras protect both the officers and the people inside. It's a record of what actually happened. So legal gangsters, even though the police can do these warrants, you still have rights.
Definitely. You can totally question whether the search was legal afterwards. Like, if you think the officer messed up or the warrant was based on lies, you can fight back legally.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
And what about the officers themselves? Do they get in trouble if they mess up?
Oh, yeah. They are held to a high standard. If they abuse their power or do something stupid during a no-knock warrant, they can face serious consequences. Could be disciplinary action, getting fired, or even criminal charges. It's got to be a balance, you know. Give law enforcement the tools to do their job, but also make sure people's rights are protected.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a case that really shook things up here in Texas.
Yeah.
The Harding Street raid in Houston back in 2019. 2 people died, and it really got people talking about no-knock warrants.
Yeah, that case was a major turning point in the whole no-knock warrant debate here in Texas. It showed just how dangerous these things can be and how badly we need stricter rules.
Totally. So can you walk us through what happened in that raid?
So the police went into a house with a no-knock warrant. They said they had an informant who bought heroin there, but it turned out that was a lie.
Wait, so they lied to get the warrant?
Yeah, and during the raid, 2 people who lived there, Dennis Tuttle and Rhogena Nicholas, were killed. And some officers got hurt too.
That's messed up. What happened after that?
Well, things got pretty crazy. There were investigations and people were really upset. Turns out the officers not only lied about the informant, but they also tried to cover up what they did by messing with evidence. It was a really bad situation that made a lot of people lose trust in the police.
Yeah, I can see why. So that had a big impact on how Texas deals with no-knock warrants,
A
right?
huge impact. It led to a bunch of changes in reforms, like how they handle these warrants now.
That's what we're going to dive into after the break, Legal Gangstas. We'll be back to talk about the reforms and what that means for all of you. Stay tuned.
Stay legal. Welcome back, legal gangstas. So we were talking about the Harding Street raid and how it kind of forced Texas to rethink how it handles no-knock warrants.
Yeah, it seemed like a real wake-up call. So what exactly changed after that?
Well, one of the biggest things is they made it way harder to get a no-knock warrant in the first place. Remember, the magistrate has to approve these things. And now they're really looking closely at the evidence the cops bring them.
So they can't just get a warrant based on flimsy evidence, or even worse, made-up stuff like in the Harding Street case?
Nope, not anymore. That statement the police give the magistrate has to be super detailed, and they got to have a rock-solid reason for why they need to bust in unannounced. Magistrates aren't just taking their word for it anymore.
Makes sense. But how do we know those new stricter rules are actually being followed? Like, is there more oversight now?
You bet. Lots of cities in Texas have added more layers of oversight. For example, in some places, a no-knock warrant has to be checked and approved by the police chief or someone high up before it even goes to the magistrate. So it's not just one person making that decision anymore.
Oh, so more checks and balances to make sure they're only using these warrants when it's absolutely necessary. Sounds like a step in the right direction. But what about during the raid itself? Have they changed how they actually carry those out?
Totally. Another big change is body cameras. Like we talked about before, a lot of police departments in Texas are now making officers wear body cams during all warrants, including no-knock warrants. So now there's video of everything that goes down. And that's super important to see if the cops messed up or used too much force.
Yeah, makes sense. The cameras protect both the cops and the people inside the house.
Yeah.
Because it's all right there on video. So it sounds like Texas is getting better at making sure these no-knock warrants are used the right way. But at the end of the day, they're still legal here, right?
Yeah, they are. But there's a big debate about whether they should be banned altogether, or at least in some situations. There are strong opinions on both sides, and the people who make the laws are trying to figure out what's the best way to do things.
Okay, so where are we at now with all this? What's the future of no-knock warrants in Texas?
Well, like we've seen, there's been a real push to limit when and how they're used. A lot of lawmakers and even some police think that there are still times when they're needed, in really dangerous situations. But everyone agrees we need to be super careful and have strict rules.
Right, so legal gangstas. This is where you all come in. We've given you the info. Now it's up to you to decide what you think. What do you think about these no-knock warrants? Are they ever okay? Where do we draw the line?
Those are some really tough questions, and there's no easy answer. It's something we need to talk about as a society because it's not just about laws. It's about our values and what kind of world we want to live in.
Yeah, for sure. Do we put the safety of the police first, even if it means innocent people might get hurt? Or do we say that our personal freedom and the safety of our homes are more important, even if it makes the cops' jobs a little tougher?
Those are choices we all got to make. There's no right or wrong answer here, and it's going to take time and a lot of discussion to find the right balance.
So how do we even start to figure all this out? It's pretty complicated.
By staying informed, talking to each other and our elected officials, and making sure the people in charge are doing the right thing, it's not something we can solve overnight. But every conversation, every bit of info we learn is a step in the right direction.
Right. So legal gangstas, keep those conversations going. Talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors. Find out what the laws are in your city and what your police department's rules are. Don't be afraid to ask questions and speak up if you see something that ain't right.
Exactly. The future of no-knock warrants in Texas and everywhere really is up to us. We have the power to change things, so let's use that power the right way.
That's right. Legal gangstas. Knowledge is power, and now you've got it. Use it to make a difference. And as always, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay legal. All right, legal gangstas, we're back and wrapping things up with our deep dive into no-knock warrants here in Texas. We covered a lot what they are when they're used, the rules, the dangers and the changes after that Harding Street raid.
Yeah, it's been intense, I guess you could say. And, these no-knock warrants, they really make you think about this balance between keeping people safe and protecting individual rights.
Yeah, for sure. So legal gangstas, this is where you come in. We've given you the rundown, now it's your turn. What do you think? Are these no-knock warrants ever justified? Where's the line?
Those are the million-dollar questions. And there's no easy answer. It's something we got to figure out as a society because it's not just about the law. It's about what we believe in, the kind of world we want to live in.
Exactly. Do we say the cops' safety comes first, even if it means regular folks might get caught in the crossfire? Or do we say that our freedom and our homes are more important, even if it makes the cops' job tougher?
Tough choices, right. And we all got to grapple with them. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. It's going to take time and talking it out to find that sweet spot.
So how do we even start untangling all this? It's a lot.
Stay informed. Keep talking to each other and to the people we elect. Make sure those in charge are doing the right thing. It ain't going to happen overnight, but every time we talk, every little bit of info we pick up, that's a step forward.
Absolutely. Legal gangstas keep the conversation flowing. Talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors. Find out what the rules are where you live, what your local cops are doing. Don't be afraid to ask questions and speak up if something ain't right.
Yeah, preach. The future of no-knock warrants in Texas and America even. It all comes down to us, the people. We got the power to change things, so let's use it wisely.
You got them legal gangstas. Knowledge is power, and you got a whole lot of it now. Go out there and make a difference. And like always, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay legal.